So I want to show you how I made the decision to accept my new job and tell you what I thought about and the process that I went through to come to this decision, because it's not what most people would expect or do, but it was right for me. But first, let me tell you about the mistake I made right off the bat. So I had already quit the job that I had been at for a year and with no job lined up and no backup plan, right? A little bit of savings, but I needed to find a job ASAP. And I found a job like immediately, like within a week and a half, I got a job offer. And the job was easy and the money was decent. And it was a casual, laid back work atmosphere. But the boss was intense. And that made the culture kind of volatile. And frankly, it was a toxic workplace. Like, I quit after 3 days. I realized I couldn't stay there, but I had made the decision out of fear. Just hurry up and take the first offer that comes in. And I was panicking because of money, didn't want to run out of my savings, didn't want to use my savings. So that's what I did wrong to start. But then I finally got an offer that I liked, and I'll tell you how I decided to take it. So the question I had been asking myself is, what job do I want? Looking at job descriptions, do I like those tasks? Just really assessing the job itself. But after declining to pursue a director position, I realized that I really needed to think about not just what job do I want, but what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my days to look like? And that took me to a deeper level of how to think about making this decision. The biggest thing that I realized is I wanted a job where I could use my gifts to make a contribution that could be appreciated and be fairly compensated for it. And so I have a real knack for working with people. So I wanted to be able to use my relationship building skills. But I also feel like I am definitely one of the people that is equally good at managing processes and managing projects. I've done a ton of project management and I actually enjoy it. I love the idea of the big picture thinking coupled with the detail and the tracking, because I use all the tools for tracking. I get so into it. And it's like, I want a job where I can use those skills because they're a very specific set of skills that I have honed and actively worked on, like really educated myself continuously about it. I'm always looking to optimize processes and just improve myself in whatever situation I'm in. So I really wanted a place where those skills could be appreciated and compensated. So that was really important to me. And at this point in my life, I'm in midlife, I'm 52 years old. Like, I've had some dreams and goals that I've been holding on to for decades. Like, I am a writer by nature, and I have books in me, and I am not going to leave this earth not writing at least one, but definitely more of these books that are inside of me. And with like the jobs that I had considered that would be considered moving up the ladder, like a director position, I realized there's no time for writing a book if you take a job like that. It's very difficult. I can't say it can't be done. You can do anything almost anything if you set your mind to it. But I realized that's not the way I wanted my life to look. I didn't want to be stressed out about work and then trying to find time to work on the things that really matter to me, my goals and dreams. The other thing is that when I was very young, I wanted to be a journalist, like from the time I was a teenager. And that didn't materialize, but I love sharing information with other people. And so I got into content creation for the opportunity to do that. I feel like I've learned a lot about life over the decades. I've made a ton of mistakes, learned a lot of things the hard way, and I want to share that with people. And so I enjoy making the videos. So the content creation is something I really want time for. And I also am building a business and it's related to the content creation. I don't exactly know how it's going to evolve. There may be some coaching, not sure what else, but I want time for that. And part of that is definitely financially motivated. During my job search, I realized that I felt desperate, begging for someone to recognize my value and pay me fairly for it. And it was not a good feeling, And like I said, it was a lot easier when I was younger to just go out and find work. But there is definitely ageism. It's harder to find work in your 50s, like work that properly compensates you. And I think people assume that you're washed up. And that's how I felt with all the rejections I was getting. So building my own business, I found a job I like, but building my own business is really important to me because I don't want to be dependent on someone else's assessment of me. I have tons of ambition and energy and ideas, and I want to invest in myself and bring those things to fruition. And that's why I ask myself, not what job should I take, but what do I want my life to look like? And you ask a different question, you get a different answer. And that's how I got to the place where I took a job with less pay, but also less responsibility. So I needed to be really honest with myself. Less responsibility, in this case, did equate with less pay. Sometimes it doesn't. Lucky those people that land those situations. I realized that, like, at this point in my life, my self-care is extremely important. When I was younger, I'd lose sleep, miss workouts, miss self-care in order to give my time and energy to the job that bled into my evenings, that bled into my weekends. But at this point in my life, I don't want to do that. Like, my self-care, taking care of myself, eating right, exercising, sleeping well, that's really a priority for me. I can't sacrifice those things. So I had to weigh whether or not this job would allow me the space and the time and the energy to do that. And it does. And the reality is, I've got a finite amount of energy on any given day. The amount of energy can fluctuate from day to day, but there's only so many hours in the day. And some days I've got more energy, some days I've got less. And I know that I need to be really deliberate and intentional about where I put that energy. I want that energy and time and focus to be able to, outside of work, pursue the things that really matter to me. And my new job really allows for that. It's a job that I can actually leave at the office. I'm not running the show, so I don't have to be up at 3 a.m. thinking about it and solving problems. And the other thing is the quiet elephant in the room that I had a hard time really admitting for a while, but it's perimenopause. That shit is real. And I'm 52. I am deep in it. And my energy is not the same all the time. I sometimes struggle with energy. And it really was like a day here, a day there, some nausea, hot flashes, moodiness, low energy. But a couple weeks ago, I had a week straight of just feeling so low energy. I was unmotivated to work on my own passion projects and feeling uninspired. And honestly, it was just hard to get out of bed. And that's a real factor. Like, I guess I didn't want a job that was going to require all my reserves because I got less reserves sometimes. So that was another factor in my decision, is like, okay, perimenopause is real. The fluctuations in my energy are real. And what is the job where I can maximize the contribution of my gifts, the salary and compensation, but also know that I can show up consistently based on what the job requires and based on the energy that I have to give, because it is sometimes unpredictable and it definitely fluctuates with perimenopause. Lord of mercy. So, with all those things taken into consideration, I decided I didn't want a job that had perceived greater status, greater pay, greater responsibilities. Because the truth is, there is a cost or a consequence for everything. And I really like this job because it is the right amount of responsibility for me. It is the right amount of compensation. And it's not a high status job. I'm an admin assistant, but I love that idea. Like when I read the job description, I was like, oh my God, these are all the things I love to do. Because I can kind of be like a organizing project management freak because I'm so into it. I've read like every book on organization, time management, everything. And the other thing is, I let my intuition have a voice in all of this. When I read the job description, without any kind of reason or rationale, and I applied for many admin assistant jobs before, but when I read this description, I was like, this is the job I want. And at the time, I was applying for tons of jobs. I'm not sure what made this job in particular stand out to me, but something about it made me say, this is the job that I really want. And then I met the person who would be my future supervisor. And after meeting her, I told my boyfriend, I was like, I think she might be the best boss I ever have if I get this job. I also told him I'm gonna go to the I also told him I want to go to the barbecue at her house. And I want to be her friend outside of work. She just like instantly struck me as such a genuinely good person. And that's really important, obviously, in a boss. But I could see, in the interview, we talked about personal growth, which I'm obviously very into. And she shared that she's also into personal growth. So I was really excited. Like, I got a good, energetic read of her. And my intuition was like, yes, I really love this. But I still didn't know that I was going to get it. But I took all the facts and all the signals from my intuition into account to make the decision. And it felt so right. It's actually unusual that you get so much, like in life, we have tons of decisions where we get conflicting information, where we really have to weigh things. But this was an easy yes, because I had already made the decision about what was important to me and what I wanted my life to look like. And that made all the difference. It gave me like true clarity because I really came to making the decision became easier because I knew what to focus on. So, for whatever decision you're facing in life right now, I want to encourage you to take a different perspective, try on a different perspective, try asking yourself different questions. Maybe if you're feeling uncertain or stuck, maybe the questions that you're asking yourself about the situation or the decision aren't the right questions. Maybe those questions don't get to the heart of what it is you really want or need. So I thought about this, and you know, the suggestion I want to make for you is if you're facing a decision in your life, ask yourself, how do you want things to be better after this decision? And then the follow up to that is, which option is more likely to create that scenario? And that'll give you some good information, because sometimes we focus so hard on the logistics, the facts, the pros and cons, but really, what do you really want to be better? And the truth is, for this decision, I want a good life that has space for the things that really matter to me, not just a 9 to 5. And changing my question about to what I want my life to look like gave me total clarity. So I want to leave you with this thought. What is the question that you've been trying to answer? And is it the right question? Are you asking yourself the right question? That's the real question. um, and that's what I got for today. If this video, these ideas resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you next time.